All right, let's talk about virtual networking equipment because a lot of things are now going virtual. What once was all physical before, we're doing a lot more virtual stuff now. So let's talk about virtual networking equipment. At one point in time, if you had a new server or service that you wanted to get set up and started, you would have to go and buy a physical machine, set it up and network it, get it all connected. You'd have to install all your software on it, your operating system and any applications on there. You would have to do all of the installs on that piece of equipment. It would take a long time because you would actually have to go and buy the equipment to get it set up on your network. So what with this virtualization has allowed us to do is instead of buying all of this equipment, it's allowed us to get one bigger box and then be able to run multiple servers on that one box. And we do that through virtualization. Virtualization allows us to operate a lot of different servers on one physical box, one physical machine, one physical device. And so how it does that is we're going to install a hypervisor on it. The hypervisor is kind of like an OS. It's a specifically built OS that's going to interface with that hardware and give that hardware instructions and tell that hardware what to do, tell it how it's going to respond. And then what we do is we install machines on top of that hypervisor. And from this is our server then right there. And that server has an OS on it and has apps on it and will provide some sort of service. And so what this is called is a virtual machine. Now that machine doesn't understand that it's virtual. It's on there. It just thinks that it's interacting with the hardware directly. And so, but instead it's actually interacting with that hypervisor, and that hypervisor is what is interacting with the hardware. So in this example right here, we have 4 machines. Those 4 machines, they're virtual machines, and they have a virtual hardware, and you install the OS on that virtual hardware, and then you install the apps onto the OS, and then you get that server up and running. So servers need that same hardware that we talked about before. It needs its NIC card. It needs its storage. It needs all of those components a regular machine would have. But we say that it's all virtual because it's going to be assigned to that machine by the hypervisor. One of the things that it's going to install is a VNIC, a network interface card, a virtual network interface card. So it will install this virtual network interface onto the machine, and that's what is going to be virtually plugged into the network and what's going to get you connected to the rest of the network. So a VNIC is what a virtual machine uses to access the network. So we know that each of these machines is going to have a VNIC so that it can access the rest of the network. Perhaps this machine is plugged into a switch out here. Although it would be in some cases not the greatest if these machines needed to talk one to another, and it would have to go all the way out to this switch and all the way back. There are times when we want that for security purposes, but sometimes we just want those machines to be able to talk from one machine to another. And we do that through virtual switches or vSwitches. So we can set up within the hypervisor, we can set up these virtual switches for this communication to happen. And then we will plug these VNICs into those virtual switches to allow those machines to talk back and forth. There may be times when we want a group of machines to be able to talk to each other, and so we can add them to the same virtual switch. But we may also want to segregate for security purposes these machines so they talk to different machines. So maybe these 2 machines need to talk and these 2 machines need to talk. And so we set up different virtual switches or different vSwitches for each group of machines that we want to have to be able to communicate together. NFV is Network Function Virtualization. This is just the idea that instead of having physical switches, physical routers, physical equipment, physical firewalls, we now have virtual components of that instead. And we can mix and match and connect all in a virtual environment. So we already gave an example of a vNIC and a vSwitch. It's the same type of thing, although we can set up a whole network using NFV. Hey, I've really enjoyed putting these videos together, and I hope you've enjoyed watching them. I'll continue to put these together, and I'm going to continue to put together more courses. So make sure you check my course outline for this course and other courses.